Hello, everybody. This is Your Life, My Hands. It is a beautiful, cold Tennessee morning, and I actually have a very special episode today. Um, of course, as I've mentioned in some of my videos, I'm a huge fan of Townsend's YouTube channel. And Townsend's is, of course, a historical reenactor. And through Townsend's, I learned about what is called mushroom ketchup. And I actually fell in love with this stuff. He made it himself. You can buy this stuff from Amazon. Geo Watkins. I believe this is made in Poland. It's about $13, so it's a little expensive by all accounts. However, this stuff is just incredible flavors, and I really fell in love with the stuff. And of course, Townsend does videos about how to make it and such. And I'm going to be making it today. It's very, very simple. And what I think I like about this is, of course, the historical implications of mushroom sauce, because these kind of sauces have been made for a really long time. And that goes back to especially Asian cooking and cultures about making fish sauce. Or you can look at Rome, which has done garum. And of course, Tasting History with Max Miller has just recently, of course, re-released a garum episode. And it's just fascinating to me. And I mean, you have all sorts of different things. You have, for instance, this is like an Italian fish sauce made from sardines and salt, and that's essentially it. And they all have their uses. Essentially, it's a super flavor enhancer, and it's just a way to make salt better, and you get flavors. And while mushroom ketchup became very popular in like the 1750s and upwards, it is just made from mushrooms simply. Back, of course, according to some of the videos, I will link the video recently Townsend did on mushroom ketchup again, where they redid it, because it's a great video. He does awesome productions, but it was available to all, and it was an American version of like a fish sauce or something along those lines. So I'm going to be making it from scratch. I'm really excited about it, and I hope it turns out well. First thing we got to do is we have mushrooms, of course, naturally. The only thing you really have to do here is the first step is you just got to break them up, and that's essentially it. Now, I usually get whole mushrooms like this, and then just cut them up. There is no need to get fancy mushrooms. You basically just want button mushrooms. You're not going to want to waste your time with like exotic mushrooms or anything of that kind. The flavor will get lost in here. So I'm just breaking up the big stuff that I have in here, stems and all. And what we're going to do is we're going to, after this, salt it heavily, which is what most of these kind of sauces have in common, from fish sauces to anything else. I also got a couple containers of portobello mushrooms, baby bellas, and unfortunately, despite getting to Walmart at a later time in the morning, they did not have any mushrooms that I could cut up or break up like I'm doing here with these white ones, these button mushrooms. So the portobellos are already cut, but that's fine. And I'm really hoping that we get some, whoops, that one just launched. I hope we get some really cool flavors out of here. And that's kind of one of the nice things, is that the one you can buy is really good. But of course, by doing it yourself, you honestly get to experience your own flavors, and you get to, there goes another one. These things are real hard to grip, good Lord. You get to really get your own flavor profiles in here of what you would like to see. Let's see, can I do this? Just crush it. So that's what I'm shooting for. I want to have something that I'm going to enjoy, because this is my own sauce that I'm making. As much as I love the other one that's already made, I want mine to be unique to me. And I have a couple special things I will be doing with this. So anyways, I'm just gonna get these in here. I'm gonna finish breaking up the white mushrooms that are still in here whole. Just crush them up. And what we're really looking to do is just draw moisture, color, and flavor out of these. We do not add any water to this. We do not add any kind of broth or anything like that, and it is not cooked yet. The only thing we're going to be adding to this, along with just about how they do all these other special sauces, or meat sauces, fish sauces, and all that kind of stuff, is you let the salt do the work. And the salt is naturally going to draw out all of those flavors. And then, of course, you go into the actual side of cooking it and, breaking it down a little bit. So I'm gonna get those. I don't know if I have any more. A couple more little white mushrooms here. I think one of the fun things about this particular recipe, besides the fact I probably could use a bigger bowl, but this is the literal biggest bowl I have, and I'm not gonna get another one. I just simply refuse. Is that there's no like real set amount of like, hey, you got to use this much salt, or you have to do this, or you have to do this kind of thing. It's not set in stone. Once again, you kind of come up with whatever you want. I just have 3 store-bought packages of mushrooms here, and I'm just going to add as much salt as I think is necessary. Let me rinse my hands real quick. This is probably going to make a lot, and I will be bottling this, or essentially putting it, in a can, a mason jar can, and letting it go from there. So from there, I got a bunch of coarse sea salt here, kosher salt, and you really just want to really heavily layer this thing. And the salt is going to be what naturally draws out the moisture in the mushrooms. So once that's done, just get your best mixing tools you got, which are your hands. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. We're going to mix all this up. I also like the Baby Bellas because I believe that there are going to be a slightly stronger flavor. Hey, look, I found one. Gosh, they just fly everywhere. Spring-loaded mushrooms. And I think that the Baby Bellas are also going to give us a real nice dark color, which is kind of what I'm looking for also. I need a bigger bowl, but like I said, or I could just do 2 smaller bowls, but I'm not going to do that because I want to be stubborn. So these are all going to get mixed up like so. It's a pretty decent amount of salt. I don't really think I need a whole lot more. I can feel the granules on my hands, and I think that's going to be just fine. Yeah, why not? A little bit more. Once again, there's no like amount here or in the videos, so you just kind of play by ear. Most of these kind of sauces, anyone who's familiar with mushroom ketchup or any kind of like fish sauce or anything like that, they are very salty naturally. And that's kind of one of the fun things about making it yourself, is that you can actually not have to get it so unbelievably salty, because we don't have the same standards that manufacturers have to have for, like preservatives and anything else like that. So you can kind of run it how you want. So let me rinse my hands off from all the salt. Now I can already tell visually that these things are starting to look wetter than when they went in, which is a good thing. Take a spatula, I'm just going to scrape all the salt off the sides, make sure that's packed in there nicely. Bam, not too bad. Okay, so that's looking real good. And the only thing now is time. And according to Townsend's, when they do their research, he's a researcher too for historical things. They said that there's like some recipes had like 9-10 day like soaking periods, and he said that's not necessary. Usually 1 day is good. So I'm gonna let these things sit. I'm gonna put some foil over them, and they're just gonna let the moisture just be pulled right out of them. And that's really all you do for now. So then we'll go into the cooking period, and from there we'll actually get into making the sauce. So anyways, these are going to sit 24 hours probably. I'll get back to them tomorrow morning, and we'll see what these turn out. So I will talk to you guys then. All right, it is about 5 o'clock, and I started this probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I want to see how these mushrooms are starting to look inside of their salty broth. Oh dear, yes. So definitely lots of moisture in there. Oh, that's gonna be real good by the time we're done. And this thing's got to sit for, of course, overnight into the morning some. So not too bad. Can't wait to see what it's gonna turn out and it is doing exactly what I'm hoping it's gonna do. Good Sunday morning. So the mushrooms have been sitting for about 24 hours, and this is my first time I'm gonna pop the lid off of this. Always fun to me when you start cooking stuff like this, because you really have no idea how it's gonna look. But honestly, There has been a pretty incredible reduction in the mushrooms. Obviously, you guys remember how full this thing was. And it looks like we pulled a lot of water out of these, and that's a real good sign. So from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna spice it up a little bit. And I'm gonna use more whole seasonings because I don't want a lot of sediment in my mushroom ketchup when I'm done. So let's see, I'm gonna start with whole black peppercorns. I don't need a whole lot of them in here, to be honest. You only need a few of them. Whole black peppercorns will go a long way. So we got a few of those. I'm gonna add in a couple whole cloves. Once again, this is a very historic recipe, and a lot of these tend to have those kind of flavors. Also going to add in some ground nutmeg. Every recipe you ever seem to find from that time period always has nutmeg in it. I've also found myself cooking with this a little bit more as it adds a very unique flavor to foods if you use it in small amounts that a lot of people can't really put their finger on, which I think is kind of fun. And I think it really enhances things. And finally, I'm gonna add a couple bay leaves. Don't really need, okay, that was too many bay leaves. Whoop, get out of there. Bay leaves, I'm still not convinced the bay leaves entirely do a whole lot. From here, all this is gonna go into a pot, and I'm gonna cook it for about 10 to 20 minutes and let the mushrooms break down a little bit. Now, it's best if you can like mash these things with something, but I don't really have any, I realize I don't have like a potato masher or anything like that. So I'm gonna transfer them into this pot here and let it start cooking. But from there, I'll probably use like a wooden spatula and just kind of break apart the mushrooms as they're cooking. This is also gonna help release out some of the excess moisture and flavor from the mushrooms. So I'm gonna get this transferred over to the pot, get it warmed up, and we're gonna let it go for about 10 to 20 minutes and we'll see what we end up with. Okay, so my mushrooms here boiled for about 20 minutes, like low boil, left the lid on, kept it all pretty close, and just to make sure it doesn't reduce too much. Got a real good smell to the place right now. From there, I've double layered this thing in some cheesecloth. Let this cool down just a little bit. Now I'm going to squeeze out the juice from all the mushrooms and leave that in the bowl. The mushrooms, of course, will be separated from it. And then from there, we can do some taste flavor testing and adjust what we need to. And then you put it back into the pot, let it simmer and reduce. So you take the lid back off of it, let it cook a little bit, and get it down to whatever flavor profile you want. So I'm going to take this carefully, because it's still a little bit warm. Not terrible, though. I'm just going to squeeze out as much of the liquid as I can. The place smells quite a bit like mushrooms right now, which is not a bad thing if you like mushrooms. That's definitely hotter than I wish it was, so I'll take turns with my hands. Ow. Definitely a little warmer than I had wanted, but that's all right. And it yields a pretty decent amount for having like only like three things of mushrooms. You do get a pretty good amount of liquid out of here. I personally feel that if I had salted it heavier, maybe chopped up the mushrooms a little bit more, you could probably get a little bit more out of this, and it would yield a better return. That's kind of the fun part about doing it, is that you get to experiment with that along the way. So that's not too bad. I don't think I could probably get more out of this. Let me grab, actually real quick, a paper plate, which I would put these mushrooms on. And you certainly don't throw away these mushrooms when you're done with them. So one of the things you do with them is you can make mushroom powder, which is where I will take these, put them on a cookie sheet, bake them real low at like 200 to dehydrate them completely, and then you can just grind them up, and you're left with a really, apparently pretty flavorful mushroom powder. And for anyone who's watched some of my videos, I actually have it right here, I think. Here it is. This one came from Trader Joe's, and it's a umami booster, but it is made mainly from mushrooms. And that's essentially what you can make with this stuff, which I think is really nice. You can reuse pretty much everything out of this. Okay, That's good enough for me. So I'm gonna put those right there. Rinse my hand off for a second, because that's quite warm. All right, and now we get to see how this thing tastes. And I get the feeling I will need more salt, which is perfectly fine. I'd rather add it than have added too much of it. Let's see what this tastes like. Okay. I will not need to add more salt. That has plenty of salt in it. Not super overpowering, but in the likeness of the mushroom powder that is already pre-made, it is very strong flavored. So that tastes really good. I really like that. I'm gonna put it back onto the stove and let it reduce just for maybe 10 more minutes. So let's do that real quick. I'm gonna pour this back into the pot here. Using whole herbs like that too is really good, because you really get to not get a super heavy sediment inside of your mushroom ketchup, which that is very good. I like that. And the cool thing about doing it too is that, like, if you really wanted to, this is where you really get to customize what you want. So I'm thinking, like, if you wanted a mushroom ketchup that's salty and has that umami flavor and just the normal mushroom ketchup, you could also go and like cut a jalapeno and put it in there during the salting process. You could do bell peppers. You could add a little slice of onion or two to the same thing, and it's going to draw out those flavors and give you a really, really good flavor. So I'm gonna let that reduce just a little bit more. I'm gonna get my cookie sheet. I'm gonna put these guys, which these are just the leftover squeezed mushrooms, and I'm gonna put them on a cookie sheet, and I'm gonna start baking them for at about 200 for a couple hours, and probably until they're nice and dry. I don't have a spice grinder right now, so I'm probably gonna vacuum seal them. But then once I do buy a spice grinder, grind them up, throw them in a container, and now you have your own mushroom powder, which could be used on anything that you season, because it's going to be salty, it's going to be flavorful, it's going to be peppery, it's going to be have some clove and nutmeg to it. So do what you will with it. But that mushroom ketchup tastes amazing. Like I said, I'm gonna let it reduce just for a few minutes, get this baked, and then that'll be that. And now I have my own homemade sauce that has been used a lot since 1750s and on. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to try it again and try a few different things with it, and we'll see where that process takes me. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys got to learn something. Go out and try it, man. I mean, make your own stuff. Make it your own, and that's the fun part about it. So this was a fun experiment. The product is great, and I already want to do it again. I'm probably gonna make chili later on, maybe this week when for work this weekend, because I got to work all weekend. It'll be fairly cool and rainy. I'm gonna use some of that in there probably, and I think it's just gonna add a special flavor to it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care now, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.